everybody, and how's it going? It's been so long. It's been too long. Welcome back to Board Game Broadscast.
Yay!
I'm Pam Walls. I'm joined as usual by my co-host Kathleen Mercury.
Hello, Pamela.
Yes, just double checking that it is in fact working, and it is. So that's
always
great.
nice. It's a good time. How was Proto-TO?
Sorry, I had you muted. Yes, Proto was awesome. Can we do our song?
Proto-TO, Pam?
Proto-TO is Toronto's tabletop game design convention. It's an annual convention that I organize for where designers playtest their games and get feedback. So it happens the last weekend of September. And so we had Proto-TO 2019. It's our fourth year this past weekend. And it was awesome. It felt like a real convention.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and there was a lot of people. This really big website in Toronto called Blog.to featured us, and so I think that got a lot of people there. I mean, we also did a bunch of promotions ourselves, but it was packed on Saturday. It was amazing.
That's so cool.
We had too many playtesters, and that was awesome.
That is a problem you almost never have.
I know, it was a good problem to have, so it was good.
Did you play test anything of yours, or did you?
Oh yeah.
Oh, good. So I mean, because sometimes when you're running a convention, it's hard to be a participant as well. So I want to make sure that you at least get your stuff done too.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge to organize the convention and also playtest during the convention, but that's the whole point. I started it so that I could have a convention to playtest that. So my sister came to town, and she basically is the on-site coordinator. So during the event, she's sort of me. It's the closest I can get to cloning myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so she runs the logistics and the coordination and all that stuff, so I can focus on playtesting. And that was huge. And then we also have a group of volunteers that are awesome, and so they really helped keep things running. And so I was focused on playtesting Three Musketeers. Jonathan Gilmer was there, so that was nice, my co-designer. So I playtested that 3 times.
Oh wow, because that's a big game too.
Yeah, they were each about 2-hour-long playtests. So that took up majority of my time. I also brought a new party game and a new card game that I came up with a couple weeks ago, a pretty new one. And that was cool. I pitched both of those to a couple publishers, and they both at the same time. That was interesting. I've never done that before. Pitching to 2 different publishers at the same time. They both were kind of interested, it seemed like, by the card game, but they ultimately said no. The card game is kind of like, uses sort of like a Candy Crush mechanic where cards drop, and if they're connected, you clear out a big chunk. And I really enjoyed it, and actually playtest that a few times, and people seem to really like it. Shannon McDowell, another designer in Toronto who's a big puzzle person, she really enjoyed it, and that to me was awesome, because I really respect her opinion, but especially for puzzles. And it was my first sort of puzzly card game, so that was cool.
Nice.
But yeah, so overall, a great success.
Yay.
I can feel the con crud coming on, but it was worth it.
That's funny.
Can we do our song though?
Yeah. Well, I made it up.
Yeah, sorry, it's your song.
Thank you.
Well,
we do the clap, and we should do our own unique clapping because there's no consistency.
We'll see if we magically do the same thing.
We're not. Ready?
Okay.
Oh, Proto-TO.
Proto-TO. Oh, good.
Oh.
We did the clapping kind of at the same time.
I do American style clapping. You do Canadian style clapping. It's
sure. That was totally Canadian style.
Yeah, it's
completely random.
Completely random, slightly judgy.
Okay.
I'm kidding. I
was very patriotic.
I was speaking today about what a lovely time I had in Toronto at Fan Expo.
Hey.
I've been to Toronto. It was great. Got to be a special guest, got to be on some panels, got to meet Pam Walls for the first time. Yeah, I would say she lived up to the hype. I was stoked. Yeah, that was cool. It was good that we got to hang out.
We got to meet in person for the first time. That was amazing.
Proper poutine.
Yes.
That was good. I got to hang out with Steven Seagal.
What?
Oh, you didn't hear the story?
No.
Oh, so like because I was a guest, like I had like an SUV like arranged to take me back to the airport.
I heard about that.
And I had to go to like the VIP area. And while we're standing back there, like Steven Seagal walked by and like the dude from Shazam was there. And it's like, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm a middle school teacher, but they're like, Kathleen Merker, your SUV is ready. I'm like, okay, darlings, I'll just.
Are you saying Shaq was there?
Who?
From Shazam?
Yeah, the guy. Well, yeah, we walked past him.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so it was kind of fun. So tabletop was good. Got some play testing, got to meet a lot of good people. Plus, Toronto has, I hate to like keep fluffing your ego, but it has a really good design community with lots of good designers, and lots of people who travel there for it. And so it was great to like hang out and spend like an extended amount of time with Sen and Erica, and there's just more people there like Daryl that I just get to see little bits of regular cons. But it was also fair to be on your turf as well. That was cool.
Yeah, we always do you so.
Yeah, but the big thing that I did lately for game design stuff, and I'm actually super stoked, was I went to Jamie Stegmeyer does a design day where it's just basically a day of like prototypes, and it's pretty structured with your play tests and everything. Well, one of the play tests I signed up for, whoever was supposed to do a game pulled out. It was just like an empty slot. And so the people there that I was with that were supposed to play this game, I said, well, if you guys want, we could play a published game. I said, or I've got a prototype. They're like, we're here for prototypes. So I actually got 3 prototypes. There are 3 play tests in. So that was exciting.
Of which game?
Oh, this is Valkyrie. This is my tiling, visual puzzle, room making. And I tried a couple things. I said, well, and if you guys want, we could play a published game. I said, or I've got a prototype. Like, we're here for prototypes.
Sorry. Continue. Sorry.
What'd you do?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Okay. So anyway, I got 3 play tests in. I tried a couple new. I'm trying to streamline like the puzzle aspect of the board with what players can do, and then also the different abilities. And it's one of those things where I simplified and streamlined some things. Like if you do this, then you can do this kind of that. And whenever you take rules out of a game, it's usually good. And so I'm so happy with it. And the cool thing was like people rated games, and my game was in the top 5 of games. And there were like 30 something there at the design day. So I'm super stoked.
I'm sure there was a bunch of like awesome designers. It's Jamie Stegmeyer's day or whatever. That's so awesome.
Yes. So I was really, really happy that it got that response, because it's one of those things where it's like, I feel like it's a real game. And so,
it's a great game. I played it at Fan Expo. It's awesome.
And it's like, and it's even better, and so I'm super proud of it. I'm super excited. Good. I'm making a Valkyrie Halloween costume.
Yes.
It's gonna have articulating wings that go out 10 feet. So if I ever sell this game, I'll be able to knock over people and product at Con
Are you gonna
Hall.
have dead bodies like tapestries over your shoulder or something? Just like for anyone who has no idea what I'm talking about. So her game is based on the people at war, and then if you kill someone, you like
no. Okay.
Take their
I'll explain very quickly.
Yes.
So Valkyries, according to Norse myths, could choose who fought in battle. They could choose who were slain. And so they would carry the bodies off to Valhalla. But then in Valhalla, they would make tapestries out of their entrails and all that. And so that's what you're doing, is you're making these fights happen so that you can take the bodies off to Valhalla and fill your gorish. I don't know if that's the word, but you can fill your tapestry, and it's
make a tapestry.
Yeah, and it's like there's different strategies. It's thinky. I'm super.
Well, there's pattern recognition. Like you need to find the different patterns with all the different angles. You can move your fighters along, and then you make them fight, and then you just get the one. That, it's super fun. I really enjoyed it. So I'm glad to hear that it's getting even better, because it was already pretty great.
I want to get that. And I sent another game off to a publisher who wants to sign it. So
yes,
let's do that.
Oh my God.
I have no games anywhere near showing. So then I'll have a winter to keep playing new stuff until next year. So I'm excited.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Just super quick update on Act Fast. So I got the contract from the publisher.
Yay!
And so I sent it to my lawyer, and I think there's quite a few designers that don't have lawyers, but I like having that peace of mind of having someone who understands contracts, looking at the contract. And then it's also nice just having someone sort of advocate for you. So you don't feel like, oh, is it okay if I have my name on the box? It's like my lawyer put it in the contract in red, and, we'll see what happens. So, so we're in the middle of contract negotiations right now, going back and forth, but it's exciting. Like things are happening with that. So
cool.
Hopefully we get that signed and moving forward. And then artsy fartsy, nothing going on. I just haven't heard from the publisher. So we'll see.
Well, maybe I think if you ever agree with me that my ideas are good, maybe we'll make a game together sometime.
I think your idea, Kathleen, really wants to make a party game with me, and
you really hate all of my ideas.
Understandable, because I'm a great party game designer. I understand.
But I'll suggest something, and you're like, that could be a thing for some. That might exist in this world we cohabitate.
We'll get there. We're just brainstorming. Yeah. I think it's good. Okay. But keep your eyes out for a new Pam and Kathleen collab party game. But enough about us. We have an amazing guest tonight. Yes. So excited. Debbie Moynihan will be joining us. So it's about that time. So I'm going to add Debbie in to join us here live. All right. How's it going, Debbie?
Yeah.
Hello. Great. Hi. Thanks for having me.
I think I'm just going to leave it like that. Yes. Thanks so much for being here. I'm very excited to have you on the show.
Me too.
Good.
I'll say that Debbie's someone who in passing, going to lots of conventions, had gotten a chance to see and even hi, how are you? Briefly. And then at UK Games Expo, Greater Than Games, whom I was helping, their booth was right next to White Wizard. And so it was there that we got to talking, and I was Debbie's amazing. And so, and I'm so excited that you're on the show so that you can talk about what you do in the gaming world, because your pathway here is a little bit, I think, different. And then the work that you do in terms of as a publisher, but then also how you're branching out into other aspects of publishing and design. And so I'm so thankful that you're on the show with us tonight.
Great. Me too. I remember when I first saw you and you had a giant wrestling belt.
That was, it's so funny.
I don't know if you usually have those with you, but.
Well, I did for a year. I wanted a Geek Way, and then I spent a year basically going to conventions and tagging Scott Reed, my good friend, who I beat in the finals. And I just tagged, because he's, he used to be a BGG admin. He knows tons of people too. And so it was just basically, oh my God, but that's a whole other story. That's so funny. Yeah, no, but when talking about branding though, I was at a party, and people this one party at Dice Tower that year, 3 different people you're the woman with the belt. I'm like,
yeah. I was I want to meet that person. She's cool. And eventually I did.
Yeah, cool. Well, so tell everybody about yourself, because I love this, that not only did you go to MIT once, you went to MIT twice. And I walked past the gate when I was there. And even then they're no, nothing.
I'll take you on a tour if you come to Boston again. So yeah, I think I got into the gaming industry in a very different way than most people. My career history before I got into the industry was mostly high tech. I started as an engineer. I always was asking a lot of questions about the business. I did a great job as an engineer. It was great, but I was always asking, well, why can't I worked at a car company? I was an automotive engineer at Ford. And I was like, why can't we make this cool car? Why can't we do that? And we would make experimental vehicles where we'd like supercharge different cars. It was super fun, but like the cars that got made always seemed really boring. And they were like, you need to go to business school. You don't understand. And I went to business school, and, you know, now I understand, right? Like why people make products. They make products that will make them money, not just the products that they like the best. In this industry, I think there's a lot of exceptions to that, where people choose to make things that they love and are passionate about, not necessarily the games that make the most money. But, you know, in business school, they teach you try to maximize your profitability, maximize your revenue. And I was in high tech. I did super well in high tech. Started out, I wanted to be a product manager because I came from a technical background, became a manager. I was at IBM, was at a startup that got bought by IBM. Then I was at IBM and went to a couple other publicly traded companies. So I've worked in really large organizations and done like formal finance, international teams with very structured processes. And eventually ended up at like venture capital funded companies. I was an executive. I ran marketing basically for companies, and I hated my job. I made a lot of money. I did, good work. I continued to like get more and more responsibility, but I didn't feel fulfilled in my job. And it was all about making money and making the most amount of money. Because when you're at a company with investors or a publicly traded company, you have a responsibility to your investors. And Rob, who I was dating, Rob Doherty, he's the CEO of White Wizard Games, was on the side. He started this little project in his garage with his best friend, which became Star Realms. But at the time, initially when I met him, he was working for Stoneblade, and he was going to Origins. And my best friend lives in Columbus, Ohio. So I said, hey, you go do that. I'll visit with my best friend. We'll shop all day, and then we'll get together at the end of the day. And the first day I got there, he was like, kind of short staffed. Do you think you could work at the booth? And I was like, sure, but I never played these games before. And he's like, oh, we'll teach you. You're smart. And so I demoed Ascension all weekend, the entire show, not just a couple hours, the entire show. And from there, I continued to work with him on the Star Realms project when it launched. I worked on the initial marketing plan for the company. So we focused on like who we targeting, how we're going to get the word out, things like what's going to be different about this product. So like I took a very more structured approach to it, I think, than a lot of people do, especially at the size that they were, just basically being like two friends part-time in a garage. But obviously the product did well. Rob had a lot of connections and experience from working at Stoneblade. He co-designed Ascension. And the other thing that we did was, I believe in marketing, you have to leverage your strengths. And he and Darwin were both Magic the Gathering Hall of Famers. So in the initial marketing plan, we really focused on the Magic community. And that was how one of the ways we got the buzz out initially. But now obviously we're bigger and broader and, do a lot of other things. And so I would do social media for Star Realms during my half-hour lunch break.
Yeah.
And I had a job where I had to be in Boston at 7 a.m. And I had to be there till 6, and I was pregnant because eventually Rob and I had a baby together. And it was very difficult for me to work so many hours, and I was traveling to Estonia. It was an Estonian company. So I'll be gone for a couple of weeks at a time. And I was really jealous because Rob and Darwin were having a ton of fun. They didn't make any money. Like at the time, they had no money. Like Rob was like, it was a lot of like Netflix, like watching movies, hanging out, because, he didn't have any money to go do anything fancy. And that was fine with me because I'm very chill. Like I'm a very laid back person. Like that's totally fine. And, but I was jealous of like, you guys have so much fun. Like if they want to take a break in the middle of the day and watch go to see the new Marvel movie, they could. And so eventually when the company got successful and more successful, and to the point where they could afford to hire me on, I joined full-time. So I've been full-time for, maybe 3 years now, between 2 and 3 years. And I mean, it took a while to get there, and I took a massive pay cut. Like when I say like I can afford to like pay my bills, and Rob and I moved in together, so we're sharing expenses. But I made a decision to take a huge pay cut and lost all kinds of benefits because I used to have stock options and 401ks and matching and all that kind of stuff. But I have never regretted it. I love it. I want to go to work every day. And people ask me like, what does a COO do? And basically I do everything other than the game design. I know you guys are all game designers. I do everything that's not game design. And there's a ton that goes along with that. So, planning the business, what are the goals of the business? What's the focus of the business? Things like finance. So as you grow, you need to keep accounting records. It's the really boring stuff, but it's important.
Well, and one thing, because I think there are a lot of people who start gaming companies because they're passionate about games, and they may not be business people. Or they may not be business people as much as they think they're business people. I mean, there's game companies that come and go, and sometimes the games aren't good, but sometimes the games are good. I mean, what was when you came into gaming, what was the biggest, most striking thing to you about how companies operated, especially when you have all these small passion projects versus your experience in massively successful companies?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing was just their lack of focus. So people were just all over the place in what they were doing. And also just lack of profitability. Like it seemed like everyone was struggling. So I was shocked to find out how much money people were making in the industry, like the salaries and how could people live on this. And most people weren't salaried because most companies couldn't afford to, hire salaried people. So, the structure of the business of, so I was trying to figure out like how could we grow the company and be able to, hire full-time people. And, now we're able to offer, health benefits to our full-time employees and things like that. But what I saw was this industry where all these people really wanted to be in it and they were sacrificing. They weren't making a living wage. They didn't have benefits. They didn't know if they'd have work, and that's still the case now, right? Like the majority of people I meet have another job and they're doing this on the side, but like, I'd like to see the industry get to a point where, companies are successful. And I'm not saying, obviously there are quite a few companies that have grown and have full-time employees, and that's fantastic. And that's why I joined the company, was really to help them focus on growing the company. But growing the company is not about revenue growth. It's about, becoming profitable. So, how do you manage the money and how do you manage cash flow? And it's hard. Like it's actually like really super hard. And I never worked in like a small company like this where, you don't, we always had like money in the bank from the VCs, or we could go back and, I mean, I did work at a company where at one point we ran out of money to pay people, but, basically the executive team all took, money in stock, and instead of money, like we worked it out so we could still pay people. But, and I've definitely worked in a lot of places where we did layoffs, over and over. So there's a lot of negatives about the corporate America kind of structure.
Sure.
I don't like that. And I don't miss that. Like where you hire when you have money, and then, when you don't have money, you let people go. And I see that in the video game industry, but not in the board game industry so much. I mean, obviously there's some turnover, but I don't see people like hiring huge groups of people. And then when the thing is published, letting a bunch of people go. So I like that. I mean,
and do you see, sorry, Debbie, do you see now a bit of a trend moving towards more smaller and medium-sized companies popping up in the board game industry?
I've seen more business people coming into the industry. So like, Pandasaurus, for example, is, relatively new in the industry. And I feel like, they have a very strong business background and they're very focused, and they grew, pretty quickly. So I think there's like newer entrants who are more focused on the business for sure. But I mean, there's still plenty of small people. They have, Kickstarters are successful enough that they can, print their game and keep moving forward. There's still a lot of like 1, 2, 3 people working on the side when they have full-time jobs. But I have seen more business savvy people coming in, and I think that's going to help everyone. But, it's, I I've seen it work. Companies do really well that aren't following all the processes. I don't think like people that go to business school know all the answers. So I think you could be super smart and you don't need to go to business school. I actually think it was kind of a waste of money when I went to business school, meaning like I learned a lot, but like what I learned in class, I don't use that on a day-by-day basis.
Learn by doing it.
Yeah, and I could teach people that kind of stuff, but I think I see as companies grow, they are hiring, more experienced people. I've met people who, come into the industry from other industries. I'm not the only one who's come from high tech, and other places where, they took pay cuts and, want to follow their dream. So, I think that there's a lot more information out there. So when I first started, there wasn't like, there's a ton of information between like James Matthews' blog and Jamie Stegmaier's is just a lot of information sharing, and there's a lot more groups now. So I think best practices are being shared much more efficiently than they were. Like it's pretty awesome. So that's also another big difference. So in tech, like you don't share like what you're doing with anybody. Like say I'm paying a software vendor a ton of money for marketing software. Like I know in this industry, a lot of people use MailChimp, and high tech people pay people a lot of money. But when they want to talk to me about my marketing process, I don't want to tell them because I don't want any of my competitors to know. And when you'd meet competitors, like you wouldn't, hang out and grab drinks with people that worked at competitors. And if you went to a competitor, it wasn't really looked upon as that great. It varies, there's different areas in the tech market, but generally like information's kept really confidential. Like how many people send around confidential information and don't have an NDA signed here? Shocking, right? Like so many.
A lot,
how many people just sign NDAs and don't even look at them because they don't know what should or should not be in there. That just kind of blows my mind. So people share their private confidential information all the time. Like I love it because like about a little over a year ago, I made a decision like, I need to meet more people in the industry because we're insular. We need to learn from other people. And we've done well, but it is important to see what other people are doing. The market changes. And so I have really tried to go to a lot of conventions and meet a lot of people. And I've been amazed, like the type of information people will share. And similarly, like Rob, my fiance, game designers come and they'll meet with him and they'll be showing him a submission. And then they'll be like, oh, well, I might kickstart it myself. And he'd totally give them advice on how to go do it themselves, not just be like, oh, you should come work with me. But in corporate America, it's always like, we're always looking to like, how can I improve my position? There's not a lot of just super nice and kind of taking time to help people out. So I don't think people appreciate that. So while people can complain like, you don't make a lot of money or this or that, like, it's just awesome. And also the women. So like, I have never had so many women friends as like coming into this industry. Like it's awesome. People are super nice. And I was telling you earlier, I met Carla and she was super nice at Gen Con and gave me a lot of inspiring feedback on how to be a designer. People are just super nice.
Well, so I have no interest whatsoever in running a company. And I like making games and I would like to see them out on the market. And I understand that they need to be products, not just, the weird fun things in my head. What would you want me or any other designer to know about running a game company from your perspective and what you need to have happen out of any type of game widget in order to make it successful?
Okay. I think that, first of all, I don't recommend people go and start a game company. Most people are, I don't want to say struggling, but, they put a lot of money and time into it. And it's very difficult to get to the place where you are profitable. Because in my mind, it doesn't count as profitable if you're not paying yourself any money. So
exactly.
Some people think, oh yeah, we made a lot of money in the Kickstarter, but like then you pay for everything and there's no money left. And you're working your day job, but you're not really making money if you can't pay yourself and like eventually quit your day job. So, it's not easy. It's very, when I think about like entering a new market or starting a company, one of the things I think about is like a barrier to entry, like how hard is it to start a game company and come in and be a new entrant? And I think it can be done. You know, I've mentioned that, you know, there's some newer entrants who've come in and kind of like are really doing awesome and relatively new to the industry, but I don't think it's easy. I think, you know, in this day and age, you need connections, or you need to go out and get the top designers and have them designing games. Like there's certain things you would need to do. You couldn't, you know, just be a single designer and sort of start a company just on your own. I think you need a strong team. Any company you start, a strong team is important. And a lot of companies, it seems to be just one person and like their family and friends. And I think making sure you have a business person, like for us, we have a digital team as well. So one of the founders is a programmer. He runs the digital team for our digital apps, and that was important for us. But I think having someone who's technical, having someone who is operationally focused. So Rob is very operationally focused also. And which we were lucky to have that. But I think like the back end of doing the request for quotes, getting the games made, you know, managing your inventory, like how much do you order? And then, if you bought too much, you have to pay a ton of money to store it month after month after month. So, you know, how do you get into distribution? So I definitely have had quite a few game companies, you know, companies that are like, you know, 2 or 3 people that have had games that have been successful on Kickstarter. And I saw them when they were on Kickstarter, but now they're like, how do I get into distribution? And they're struggling with that. And like, I would encourage you to try to partner with a publisher before you go to Kickstarter. Like for us, we would much rather like have input and say in the marketing of a game before Kickstarter. Because, you know, if you go to Kickstarter and you raise 10,000 or 20,000, like that says something to the market, you know, whereas we have a much bigger reach. Like we can reach, you know, 100,000, you know, tens of thousands of people on day one to tell them about the game. You know, we have customers, like any of the, you know, bigger companies have customers that will look at things that we say, oh, this is a good game. So, you know, people will look at it and it makes huge difference. I mean, people talk about building an audience, but it's not easy, right? Like it takes months and months and years. So if you can find a publisher to partner with, you know, I would do that. So basically, this is my advice. Partner with a publisher, get yourself known, and then you can consider teaming up with other people to own a company. Because if you're not an owner, you're never going to get rich. So, you know, I have 1 child through college and 6 more to go in our family. We have a lot of kids. And, you know, so how are we going to do that? How are we going to make money? Like there's only so much, you know, you get paid by the hour, by the month. Owning a company, and if you can grow it and be profitable, is like the true way to wealth. You know, I don't think most of the people in the industry that's their end goal, but I think it is a good goal to aspire to.
Sure.
So, and actually, you know, Debbie, this kind of ties into, you know, wanting to designers reaching out to publishers and having that relationship. So Anne Stolinsky, another Broad, is wondering if you accept submissions from independent designers and what that process is like.
Yeah, so we do. We don't. I was asked earlier when we were talking before the call started if we have an online submission. We don't. It's on my very, very long to-do list to create a page that talks about that we take submissions and how that process works. But we do get a lot of inbound submissions. We don't always get to look at all of them. We'd love to look at all of them, but I would recommend the number one way that you can get in front of publishers, especially like, you know, I guess it depends on the company, but for us, like where I would consider us a still relatively small publisher, but, you know, financially somewhat successful. We are so busy. You know, the thing is, like, if you don't have investors like a publicly traded company or a venture capital funded company, you have to like manage your cash flow. And that means you can't hire a bunch of people ahead of time before the growth. So you're always somewhat understaffed. We're always understaffed.
Right.
So we don't have a lot of time. But when we're at conventions, we're at conventions. Everything else kind of shuts down. Yeah, we do work when we go back to our hotel rooms, but when we're on the floor, we're working and we're there to meet our players. We're there to do meetings, and we do take meetings at conventions, and a lot of publishers do. So if you reach out to publishers, for us, people reach out to us either through like contacts they find. So like a lot of people will see me on Facebook or see that I email out the newsletter and they email me and they want to, submit a game. We used to sort of take meetings. I used to take meetings with anyone who emailed in because I didn't know, I don't know what games we're looking at. But now I know more about the games and I've participated in submission reviews. So, I can filter somewhat. And most people that are proactively coming to us are fans of our games and think that their game will fit into the portfolio. It's really, really hard to tell from a sell sheet and an email, whether the game's good.
Right.
So if you can do a video, which kind of walks through a little bit, even if it's not a full gameplay, a little bit of overview, it doesn't have to be fancy. It can be like this, even just talking about your game to give someone a feel for how you think about it, thinking about who would be a player of that game and would they also play that company's other games. So we have a lot of people on our mailing list that play Star Realms and Hero Realms, and now we have Sorcerer and Epic card games. So, you don't have to come to us with a deck builder because, we're pretty good at making deck builders. We do look at deck builders, but strategy games that our games are pretty inexpensive compared to other games. Our games tend to be smaller compared to other games. So look at what makes this publisher different and do you fit that target? So for us, we're looking for those. Replayability is a big deal for us. So our strategy is a little bit different than a lot of people. We're not pumping out new games every month. We focus on we're very serious about the product lines that we have and continuing to support them and have expansions coming out. Some people call that an evergreen brands.
Mm-hmm.
So, we do want to have more games and we are looking at more games. And Sorcerer, which came out this year, was our first game that came from an outside designer. So when I started the company, we did not take outside designs. And we went to Essen and this guy came up to the booth and he was super passionate. His name's Peter Schultz. About his game. And he was like, let me show you my game. And Rob looked at it in his hands and said, I might want to hire this guy as an artist. He was like, did you do the art in this game? And he was like, yeah, I did, a lot of the art, but I also have artists I work with. So Rob was thinking, yeah, I really like that art. So he was like, yeah, show me your game. And he fell in love with it. And he's like, I want to make this game. And, and then there was a lot of back and forth of, should we, I wasn't at the company full time yet, but should we make this game? What should we do? And, eventually it became a game and Peter joined the company and he's, working on multiple games right now. He has multiple in the works. So we'll be publishing other games from him down the road. Cool. So now he's not an outside designer, but that's, I think your end goal, right? Is if you can find a company that you're a good fit for. He really likes our games. We really get along with him. He'll be with us at Essen. Yeah. So
you're saying if we pitch games to you, you might hire us too.
Yeah. And we do hire people we have people that do development work for us right now, part-time. We don't generally sort of outsource design work so much unless we have a very specific project and we know that person, we'd want to get to know someone before we sort of oh, can you work on this design thing? Because designing, we like to have people in the office if possible, but if people have ideas for games, I could tell you, that might be something we're interested in. I mean, timing is a big thing with publishers. So, you can only make so many games in a year. So I was surprised in talking with publishers and talking with designers that if you pitch a game and someone takes it, it could be a very long time before they make it. People have planned out already the whole next year or maybe even 2 years. And so it can be way, way down the road and you don't have any control over when it's going to come out usually. I'd be happy to look at people's contracts and give you feedback just, as a, not as someone who's looked at a lot of contracts. So I've looked at a lot of contracts before I got into this industry and I've noticed that there's a huge variation in contracts across designers. So far and the people we've met with and the expectations that they have vary very widely. And not always the most successful designers are not the most demanding necessarily, which is really interesting to me.
Huh.
Yeah.
I require velvet.
Only green M&Ms.
No, I would have yellow, but I'd
have candy corn if I was a diva. I love candy corn.
Huh.
But
Did you see where somebody took a bunch of candy corn, sprinkled it on a DiGiorno pizza, and baked it?
No,
That drew mixed feelings from the internet.
But I did see cookies with candy corn yesterday, and those looked really good. They look like chocolate chip cookies, but with candy corn instead of chocolate chips.
Well, we'd be good to hang out because candy corn is bottom of my candy list. It's not even on my candy list, so we won't be fighting over
chocolate. Yeah, I just like pure sugar.
Have you had like Australian or New Zealand style licorice?
I don't think so.
Okay, look for RJ's raspberry, like Australian, or I think it's New Zealand.
That's
RJ's,
super sweet.
It is, and it's not like Twizzlers are like plastic. It's like soft. It's like a gummy with a little bit of structure to it, like it has gluten in it. You know, there's like
we have a candy exchange at Essen, and people from Australia were like, "What should I bring?" And we're all like, "I don't know. Like, we don't know."
RJ's, not Daryl Lee's. Daryl Lee's not good. There's a bunch of them. If you see like Australian licorice at Walgreens, keep walking. Sorry, Walgreens.
My mind just kept going to Vegemite. I was like, I don't know what, like, I've never been to Australia, so I don't know what the delicacies are. So if anyone knows, let me know.
Well, I signed up for the Vegemite newsletter as a joke because I had a student who was Australian. And one time I got an email from them, and it was like, there are all these recipes. So you tell me what's worse, Vegemite brownies. No, it's like yeast. It's like yeast extract after like fermentation.
I've never had Vegemite. I've seen it.
Yeah. So brownies. So imagine just like a hardcore salty umami bomb brownie or ice pops, Vegemite ice pops. And both of us are like, I'm totally going to make it. I don't think either one of us did.
Yeah, no.
Well, okay. So you are starting to think about maybe Debbie wants to design games too, right? Yeah. So I think that's awesome. I think it's great. I don't like gatekeeping, and you certainly have way more experience as far as evaluating games than a lot of people. But when it comes to like, how are you approaching design given your background? You know, what excites you, and are the things that kind of whirl in the back of your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very analytical person, so it's kind of like analysis paralysis. Like, I get so many ideas and I'm like, I don't know, and how do I start this? And so from how I think about it, I'm just sort of in the initial phases. I started, I did a game with my daughter with the Haba game design kit. I don't know if anyone's ever done that, but you can get a game design kit. And I did it with my daughter, and it was super, super fun. She's 5. And we designed a game together, and she loved it so much, and she wanted to play it every single day that I didn't send it in because it was my only copy, and I was like on a very tight timeline. So I need to plan farther ahead for those contests. But that was sort of what got me thinking about it. I like a challenge. So a design contest to me is like, we were talking about prompts earlier. Like, if you like, as an engineer, like, here's a problem, go solve it. Like, I am definitely a problem solver. And that's why even from like a business perspective, I tend to do a lot of the technical stuff and the operational stuff. So how I would think about it is combining my technical ability with my business background. I mean, I look for market opportunities. So I tend to be with our company even. So I'll tell you, like with our company, I'm like, well, we should do a pirate game because there's a lot of pirate games, or a cat game because cat games are really popular. So like taking advantage of trends, but you need to get on them early on, like, you know, doing a cat game now, maybe not, but like, you know, looking at trends and trying to like get on a trend. Like you see like a movie comes out and it's like, you know, it has a very specific theme, like, a person locked in a room, and it's like a horror thing. And then all of a sudden there's like 5 movies that are like a person locked in a room. It's a horror thing. And it's because, people have seen that. They've identified that this is an exciting thing, and now they want more of it. And you don't, same company can't just do the same thing over and over. Like one company can't make 10 movies about that, but every studio can. So from that perspective, I think people shouldn't be afraid to look at what other people are doing and innovate off of that. I think a lot of times people think, I need to, you know, come up with a totally new thing. It has to be totally different. And, you know, I got advice from Rob on game design. You know, I listened to him advise, you know, game designers, because he's been designing games for many, many years, is, you know, start with games you like and look at modifying them and understanding like why you like them and trying to make them better. For me, because I don't have like design skills. So like I'm kind of doing some of those exercises just to like get some basic skills. But in terms of what kind of product would I want to make if I had, exceptional design skills, I would look for market opportunities. So like which games are doing really well, what type of games, how are they reaching those people? So, you need to be able to make that game and get to that market. So, if it's like, oh yeah, but that company never works with outside designers, then don't focus on that, And like, if you have a good relationship with a particular publisher, so say you can't get meetings with publishers, you've probably read this on blogs, but I really believe in it, is go around and try to meet people at conventions, chat them up if you can. I know everyone can't, but, get to know people, hang out with them, and they, will possibly look at your stuff, I mean, I think it really does help. So if you have a relationship with someone that's a publisher, like maybe think about making a game that would be a good fit for them because you have that relationship. And if someone said, yeah, I'd look at your game if you made a game, well, yeah, then, like for me, like, oh, well, if I made a game that would fit it within White Wizard Games portfolio, I kind of have it in, but that's not how I think. Like, I'm very focused. I like family games. I play a lot of family games. I like, more casual games, not ones where I need to remember every card I've played and think 5 turns ahead. And that's not like what I want to do when I'm relaxing. So for me, either like we would need to start like another imprint to do those kind of games at White Wizard Games, or, I would
which games?
Yeah. Or I would partner, with another publisher to make a game. If I, designed a game, I don't know if I'm going to the Tabletop Network event before BGG Con this year, and I want to go to a lot of the sessions. Like Kathleen sounds like it's doing an awesome one. And that's part of that, is just to learn more about it. And I just also need to understand the process because, when I look at like, how can we improve our processes, I need to understand like what's holding us up and are there more efficient ways we can be doing things. So, if I don't know how the design process works, then I can't help make it better. So that's also, I kind of started it from that perspective, but I'm like, yeah, this is kind of fun. And we also go to speed dating events sometimes. And
those are great. Those are really, really fun. And you meet a ton of people. I mean, my game Dirty Birdie, which was like weird bananas bonkers, but people remembered me because of that game years later.
Did they yell like Dirty Birdie when they saw you at the convention?
You're the one with the pigeons that shit on
Dirty
things, right?
Birdie, that's Dirty Birdie.
I am.
I just, I give you guys a lot of credit, because when I start like thinking of ideas and thinking, how would I build this? Like, getting started is the hardest part. So, I met with Carla. She did, I don't know if she was the one who hosted it, but someone said, oh, we're going to meet in this lobby of this hotel at Gen Con. Yeah. So like I showed up and she was there, and I was like, oh, you're a game designer. Like, how do you, design your games? She was like, let me show you my like suitcase with all my components. And when I get an idea, I just like make it. And I was like, wow, like that's awesome. So I think like that maker attitude of like, that's the part that I need more of. But like, if anyone wants to run ideas by me of like, what do you think of this? How do you think I would go to market with this? I'm happy to like help you guys with that kind of stuff. I mean, if you want, like, obviously if you need like ongoing day-to-day marketing help, I don't have that much free time, but I'm happy to always like have a drink or a cup of coffee or just chat, on the phone or on Skype or something. Anytime.
To give really generous of you.
I like doing that kind of stuff, because when you help other people, your brain's differently. Like, one of the reasons why I wanted to go to like conventions is, we go to conventions because we have booths, but like BGG Con, I'm going because I want to meet people and talk to people. And when I went last year, I just had so many thoughts and ideas, and just seeing different people and seeing how they do things, and just having time to just absorb it without focusing on trying to, sell and tell everyone how great my game was, and demoing and making sure people were in the demo seats. Like, well, even though at BGG Con we did have a booth, but it was the first convention where I actually got to play a lot of games. So, and even though everyone told me they were just going to be really super hard games, they weren't. I played a lot of really light games there. So
yeah. Well, and I think that's such a great way to sort of wrap this up, as far as like just like how generous you are in terms of like sharing your time and willingness to help. And maybe you and I can do a game together, since sometimes it's kind of difficult to work with.
I like funny games. You have funny ideas.
I know. I like, and it's like, I want it to be like a little bit inappropriate, but not so much that I can put my name on it. You know, that's what I'm kidding. No, that'd be fun. At tabletop, we'll just kick around ideas. Pam won't be there, so it'll be great. We're gonna start a game company called Not Pam Games.
So not fun games. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Well, Debbie, are you coming to the Board Game Broads meetup next year?
I don't know. When is that?
It's close though.
It's nearby me. Is it?
Yeah, it's near you. It's in New Jersey, so
oh, that's really close to me.
Just down the street.
So I need to I need to get the details on it, but I'd love to go. I mean, I don't like.
Yeah, I think we're close to getting a hotel and stuff. So.
Oh, cool! Right on.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we have a little room here that I'm doing this cast out of. It has a futon, so occasionally people will come and stay with us for a few days and work in our office. So also, if anyone's coming to Boston, let me know.
Oh, cool! Good to know. Cool. Right on. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. If people want to contact you, what's the best way?
The best way is email, which is Debbie@whitewizardgames.com, DEBBIE. But like I'm also on I wouldn't recommend that you reach out to our company social media because like lots of people get alerts when you send messages. So like don't send a message to like the Star Realms Facebook page because like not that anyone's going to read, but it just other people will respond. I don't personally like do all the answering there. So just sending me a message on my personal Facebook or I'm on Twitter as well, Deb on Twitter, and I'm on Instagram, but I started a new Instagram for myself, Board Game Wire. That's just a personal thing, but also obviously White Wizard Games has an Instagram as well. But again, I'm not the primary person that does the Instagram stuff. I love doing social media. Like I would like to do that as my full-time job, but I'm so busy doing other stuff. Unfortunately, I do all the stuff nobody wants to do.
Right.
Which is so important.
It is.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me and like for doing this. I think this is really awesome.
I'm super glad you're super awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, cool. Well, we'll say good night.
Okay.
So thanks so much, Debbie, for being on, and I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Bye, Debbie.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Sorry, it's awkward.
So yeah, so I'm just kicking you out.
I mean, we get along cool, that one and I. So no, I'm kidding.
No, she's awesome. That was so great. It's so great because a lot of designers think they're also business people and they're not. You know, like the business side is so important and it's a full-time job. Like it's so hard to be a designer and do the business stuff as well.
Right.
So it's just really great to get that perspective.
Yeah. Well, and especially when she has like so many experiences outside of gaming and very corporate, sorts of practices and stuff like that. It just builds in, I think, a rigor and a structure in terms of like your approach. And like White Wizard could easily be one of those companies that's kind of come and gone, but because she came in with all this knowledge,
and I think that was
energy,
probably a big part of
turning it into a profitable company. And
for sure.
Well, here's the time where we each highlight a game published by designed by a woman or gender non-binary. I'm messing it up.
Gender non-conforming.
Thank you.
Or non-binary.
Been a long day.
Hey.
What game do you have? You go first because you always like to make me squirm.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, cool. All right. It's it's October. It's Halloween month.
Ooh.
So I picked a scary game.
You picked Haunt the House.
You got it without any. Well, I guess you got it.
I got it because I have it.
Is that your game for the month?
No, but I own it. I backed it on the Kickstarter.
Good job. I think that's the first one you've got right.
Well, I mean, I don't know how many other like scary themed games, and we talked about Nikki Valens and
Betrayal House on the Hill.
Yeah, we talked about that one last time. So Helena, by the way, who I got to meet in person, was super amazing and nice, an amazing teacher, as well as a game publisher and game designer too. I got to show her Valkyrie. She couldn't have been nicer about it. And I love what they're doing because they have like their kids table line,
Yeah.
which are more family friendly games, but then they also have their other line of like bigger, heavier games like Endeavor. And so it's really exciting to see.
Yeah, it's cool. They have the two different brands, so they can
Yeah.
do more like heavier strategy games, but then also they're kids game. Well, they're not kids games. They're like games that families could play together where
Right.
the parents are still engaged.
Right.
Which is a really cool approach to it. So for anyone who hasn't played this game or doesn't own it, it's super fun. And so last year I had a board game night that was themed like a Halloween board game night. And yeah, it was really fun. So I highly recommend everyone have a Halloween board game night and play this game. So you're all ghosts and you get to pick your little, here's an example of
scary.
Ew, so scary. You get to pick your ghost, and then you're trying to scare off all of these ghost hunters that are in your haunted mansion. So you have these different rooms. It's such a beautiful game. Like, so you have all these different rooms, and then you have these ghost hunters that go right over top of the thing. And then it shows the different things that scare them. So this bump.
Pickles.
Yeah, he's scared of pickles. No, it's a bump and 3 chills, I think. So if you get this right combination sort of thing, then you would get this card, and then this gives you stuff if you get that card. But the way that you get it is you want to play your scares. So as the ghost, you have a deck of cards, and you have bumps and chills and, creaks and different things that ghosts do to scare people. And so you either place a card face up next to one of these ghost hunters, so people know, okay, there's one bump assigned to this guy, so all he needs is 3 chills or whatever. Or you can place it face down and get the reward of the room, so it's like little abilities kind of thing here. But people don't know if the thing you just put down is actually helpful for this card, so you could throw down whatever, get the bonus of the room, but it won't actually go towards scaring this ghost hunter away. And so you need to time on your turn if you're going to be playing a card or you're going to be trying to scare the ghost hunter away. And if you scare it away, you turn over all the hidden cards and you count up all the cards that are now face up and see if you have enough to satisfy this scare condition. And if you do, you get that card. And if you don't, they're all gone. So there's a little bit of bluffing. And at the end of the game, there's points for set collection as well. So it's very, very fun. It's absolutely beautiful. Joshua Capello, I believe, does all of the graphic design. And then they have a really good artist as well. So, and the pieces are glow in the dark. Skulls,
that's so fun.
Glow in the dark. So yeah, so that is my game. I highly recommend Haunt the House.
Cool.
What's yours?
All right. So it was designed by a woman.
Oh, you're doing clues? Yay! You're
from New Jersey.
Okay. Oh, Suzanne.
And when she came up with the game, she was 6. And I don't think she may not even be 20 years old right now.
So she's a youngin'?
Child. And
yeah, give me another one.
The game has been republished multiple times. And for the company, it's actually one of their most profitable games. It's won a ton of awards. It's a game from Game Right.
Okay. Oh my God. I don't know.
Oh, how's it feel? I
want more clues.
It's a card game.
I don't know.
Here it comes.
Yeah.
Here it comes.
What is it? Oh,
Queens.
Oh, is it Martha Falco?
No, her name is Miranda Evarts.
Oh no, I'm thinking of different person.
Yeah. So
Okay,
anyway,
cool.
yeah. So she apparently one night had this dream about like all these queens.
Yeah.
And I was reading a story about the game, and it's really cute. So you basically have this tableau. You lay out cards, and you play cards, and there's all these different abilities, but you're basically trying to like wake up the most queens, get the most points. It's really cute.
What's the name again?
Sleeping Queens.
No, the designer.
Oh, Miranda Evarts.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, a game by Miranda Evarts and family, and so the story, like like the company, like they wanted to make changes, and at first, like little Miranda apparently wasn't too stoked about making changes based on publisher suggestions because she was maybe 7 at that point, but eventually they got it to where they wanted the game, all around. And so, yeah, Sleeping Queens, it's still being published. And it was licensed, I think, in, what's my little website here say, first published in 2010, and they're still making it. And it's a cutie pie little game. I had...
That's so cool.
Yeah, so I picked it up, and it was one of those things, because I remember, like, the rules. I think this would probably be a good... I mean, sometimes I get really impatient learning games from rules, especially when you think it's going to be a simple little game.
Yeah.
So actually, I started reading one day, and it worked. So, and I had to put it aside because I was too busy. When my students were like, "Oh, I love that game," I'm like, "Will you come in at lunch and play with me?" And she's like, "Sure." So she came in at lunch and she taught me Sleeping Queens because it was a game that she had with her family and they played it all the time. So Sleeping Queens, a cutie pie little card game. And the best part is like, it's all the stuff like in their lives. Like they would eat pancakes a lot. Do you have pancakes in Canada?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. I don't know how far up north it's like just reindeer meat.
Like maple syrup is like our jam. That's
fine. I like the fake stuff, but that's a whole other thing. So anyway, but like they had a lot of pancakes. Her dad wore tie-dye t-shirts and stuff like that. So it was like the tie-dye queen and the pancake queen. You know what I mean? What I love, it's got that pure kind of like unfiltered, like childlike view of the world in it too. As far as like, oh, we're gonna make them elementals, and so they're really balanced. Like no, tie-dye queen, pancake queen, deal with it. So no, super cute.
I'm glad they kept that in.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm obviously pro kids designing games.
That's great. I didn't.
Yeah, so it was a fun one. There's the bubblegum queen, the dog queen, sunflower queen, fire.
And you're trying to wake them up, or you're trying to have them go to sleep?
You're trying to wake them up. The cat queen is cute. The cake queen, and then it's also too. They've got a lot of diversity in terms of like who they're picturing.
That is so cool. Yeah. I love how she was 6 or 7 when she got that published. That is awesome.
Yeah. Like they took it to the company. They're like, wait a minute, this actually is something. That's so cool. So there we go.
Oh, I love that. Good one.
Yeah. Well, good show, Pam. We did it.
High five.
For all those crazy broads out there, keep making cool stuff.
Yes.
Knock it out of the park.
Stuff, get it to the table.
Yeah.
We're gonna have another Board Game Broads chat, not this Saturday, but next Saturday. So be sure to join us.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Always inspiring.
Yeah, it's always fun. Yeah, and try to jump in on those because especially since just we should like have what people are working on, and you can always just kind of kick stuff back and forth and get ideas. So it's really helpful.
Oh, totally. And it's just awesome to hear what everyone else is up to. It gets you jazzed to get back to your stuff.
Right. Well, and that's one thing too. We even talked about this kind of as a joke. Like once we hit 9 o'clock, then we tend to get a little bit sillier. Haven't I even talked about like it would be fun to after like the show's over, then to just like play online live. Like if there's other people, bring them on the show, find some game online, split screen that bad boy out. We'll let Pam figure out the math of it. It's cool.
Will we?
Yeah. But like can't stop on Board Game Arena. Like I'm ready to throw down, so
I know. I'm trying to think of a game we could play on the stream. Everyone would like maybe a game
just where.
Oh, good one. Yeah, that's really good because you don't need to have the game to play it.
Right, and you can just have people like hold up cards and then all that. Yeah, we just need like a bank of cards with stuff, but let's figure out something.
It's a great idea, Tony. Think about it. When we were playing Just One, you and I, the first time we met, we played Just One, and we both said Tony for the clue for Tiger.
It's true. Wow, your memory is excellent.
Well, I want Tony to like become one of your nicknames, so I'm going to try to make that happen. And now Dirty Birdie as well.
Once the show is concluded, I will explain why that will not work. Just kidding.
Ooh.
All right. Well, cool. Have a good night, super friends, and we will see you guys next month.
Okie dokie. Ciao.